Hello everybody, in this video I want to give you a short feedback on your homework, fossil fuels, infinite, finite, raw materials, and the other one, hard coal extraction in Australia. So let's have a closer look. Your first task was exercise 4, explain the difference between resources and reserves, M7. So let's have a closer look at M7. Here you can see the differences between resources and reserves. Reserves are, let's mark it a little bit. Reserves are economically exploitable, so it makes sense to get them. They are certain, probable. So a large part is certain, is definitely there. Probable means it's most likely there, and possible is it's maybe yes, most likely, and definitely. So those are reserves. Resources are, however, not yet economically exploitable, so it does not make any economic sense to get it out. So for example, if the barrel of oil is $30 and these resources you could possibly get them out for $100 but only sell them for 20, it's not economically exploitable. It doesn't make any sense to get them out. So also as part of reserves still, right? Part of the reserves. However, here in the resources, we have not yet discovered, hypothetically known, and other speculative. So hypothetically, there should be some, because we know the structure of our planet from the inside. We know it should be there. It should be there. But no proof, and speculative. Maybe there is something. For example, oil reserves in Alberta. We have found oil in oil sands in Alberta. Those have been resources up until fairly recently, and now they are reserves because now they're exploitable and economically exploitable because of technical progress. That's why we cannot say that we will run out of oil in blah blah blah, because we don't know. We still have a lot of resources that are untapped, speculative, or hypothetically there, and we will use them in the future. That was this for this exercise. Let's go to your other exercise. So you had the job of working on hard coal extraction in Australia. For the sessions this next week, please have a closer look at hard coal extraction in Australia. In Germany, we have been extracting hard coal up until fairly recently, for example, in the Ruhrgebiet, right? In part, but now we have stopped with it in part due to cheap import coal from places like Australia. So right now we have still power plants. However, we don't use them. We don't use German coal because it's much cheaper to get the coal from Australia halfway around the world via ships. We don't have to extract them here anymore. So I asked you to have a look at pages 112 and 113, exercise 1, 2, 3b, 4, and 5. So let's have a closer look. I've also said that I would like you to have a look at OneNote here, O3. You can just click on it and you will get directly to your own personal copy of the material in OneNote so that you can work on it. Get on it here. So you will then see this page, and here we can add, here you can use, like I'm doing right now on my iPad, I can use a pen and I can just edit this stuff and mark it. So exercise 1, describe the location and extraction of hard coal resources in Australia, M1, 5, and 7. Let's have a look. M1, Australia Energy Resource Material, hard coal. So we're looking at hard coal, especially we can see that it's at the east coast of Australia. We have some brown coal, uranium mines for nuclear power plants. Right, so at the East Coast, 5. A mine worker's perspective viewpoint. Michael Camden lives and works in Portland, a 2.5 hour drive from Sydney. Coal mining has left its mark on the landscape as far as the eye can see, but a long administration building, the recreation rooms and showers for the nearly 200 workers at Michael's mine look tiny against the gigantic conveyor belts that operate all day and night. Although raw material prices are not so great at the moment, our open cast mining operation is generally in good shape. Says Michael. And for his family, there is much more money left over at the end of the month than in the past when, as an excavator operator with $700, he only earned half his current wage. The huge mining fields, now that's the important part, mining fields, which stretch to the horizon and which have been abandoned to nature after the cessation of coal extraction, are not particularly beautiful, Michael admits. He prefers to draw attention to large numbers of jobs that are created. So mine fields, open cast mines. And that's the main reason why we import coal here. It's much cheaper to just open up the ground and then get out the coal from with a normal excavator, like we have here in the lignite or brown coal fields of Garzweiler. Just Google Garzweiler brown coal. It's much cheaper to do it that way than to dig a hole in the ground, trying to dig tunnels like we had to do in the Ruhrgebiet. So the coal is much closer to the ground in Australia. That's why it's cheaper for us to import it. So for the worker, it's very important. He earns a lot of money and is able to feed his family. So for the environment, it's not very nice. The open cast mine does not look good in the environment, and if there was a forest before then, well, it's not there anymore, and it's just being left to nature after. 7. That's the next page. The coal terminal of Newcastle, South Wales. You know these large excavators. We have bigger ones here, even in Germany. However, here you can see that the coal is just left on the surface, so they don't have to build tunnels. That's why it's so cheap. Okay, exercise 2. Explain the development of the hard coal industry in Australia, M2 to 4. So, M2, development of the coal production. What can you see? Earnings in billion US dollar, and production. Production red, earnings in blue. So earnings, general trend, increased earnings. But fluctuating short term. And the production. Slowly increasing and also a little bit fluctuating. So earnings have increased and the production has increased. 3. Development of the employment in the Australian coal industry. So total jobs and jobs in the coal mines. Jobs in the coal mines almost stagnant. Sorry about that. Almost stagnant. Slight increase. This is, by the way, what I meant when I said you can just work on your own copy using OneNote. That's what I'm doing. You could do the same. Just use a tablet or a touchscreen computer if possible, or you can do that even with a mouse and click on it and just hit Zeichnen here on OneNote. Jobs in the coal industry that increase. So the increase in jobs is an argument for the coal industry. Fourth, trend of coal prices in the world market. So increase. No. Sharp increase or constant increase. So either or the euro per ton seems to be increasing. However, remember but there's a little bit of critique here. Have a look at exercise 4 from page, what was it, 100. Have a look at this here before. M7 on page 109. M7 on page 109. It says us otherwise because reserves are still coming. M7 109. Because we have reserves constantly being resources constantly being turned to reserves, the price does not really increase that much. The oil price has not really increased very much in the last 50 years because of 30 years because it is often fluctuating and reserves are often turned into resources are often turned into reserves. 2. Exercise 3b. Characterize the importance of Australian hard coal for the country's economy based on an entry in a travel guidebook. So write a travel guidebook. 2 and 4. So the importance of Australian hard coal for the country's economy. At the east coast of Australia, hard coal is very abundant and a big job giver for a lot of people. The extraction has increased over the years from 2000 to 2010 quite a bit, and the production has increased and the earnings have increased. Therefore, illustrates the importance for the economy. From 2006 onwards, the total amount of jobs in the industry has also increased, while the jobs in coal mines in general has only slightly increased. So the jobs in the industry and other parts of the industry are very important as well. The question is for the future. In the past, the price of coal has constantly increased. However, how the price will fare in the future is still an unknown. That could be something that you could have written. 4. Give your opinion on the hard coal industry in Australia and explain possible future scenarios. So, well, you should talk about the effect on nature. You should talk about the importance for the economy. 3 to 8. Changes in Australians energy sector. Today, most electricity in Australia is generated from fossil fuels. In 2011, more than 75% of total energy production was generated from coal, only 8.7% from renewable energies. The Australian government has therefore passed the Renewable Energy Target Law, which to ensure by 2020, that's today, that's now, at least 20% of electricity generation will be covered by renewable resources. You can Google online where if Australia has met that target. 6, 7, Australia. So Australia is a vast mining pit. We have a newspaper report that explains to us how vast a mining pit this is. That the destruction of nature is vast also, and it's important for the economy. Ian Moore, a powerful built man with soft features, pulls his baseball cap down low on his face, and he is the farmer here. His cattle are lazing in the shade of the eucalyptus. Behind them, hidden in the haze, are the vineyards where wine is made, and the monstrous. Now we have stylistic devices. Monstrous gray-brown crater of the coal mine. In a few decades, the traditional Australian wine region of Hunter Valley, some 200 kilometers west of Sydney, has been turned into Australia's largest coal mining area. Untriggeringly, machines rip up the earth to meet China's hunger for raw materials. All those words are negatively connotated if you have a look at it. It has been like this for as long as this 63-year-old farmer can remember. The coal industry was already there when his grandfather was clattering through the idyllic meadows in his horse. Idyllic meadows, so nice, beautiful garden fields, basically, with his horse and cart. But in the last 10 years, Moore says the excavators have gone mad. My God, so many. Working faster and faster, more and more is exported, and more often the coal industry digs up fertile farmland. Freight trains with up to 80 tons thunder past. Now gigantic cutters have also started to excavate coal underground. Cracks have appeared in the highway, and whole tracts of land with grapevines, homes, and cattle meadows have suffered meters deep subsidence. The industry has gone completely crazy, Moore said, with helpless rage in his voice. The farmer is not alone. Throughout Australia, mining now faces massive protests. Citizens from all parts of society are resisting the uncontrolled expansion of the coal and natural gas industry throughout the country in ascending to the position of a global energy superpower. Since 1980, 42% of the farmland in Hunter Valley has fallen victim to coal mining, the National Statistical Office confirms. And it's now Ian Moore's turn. I'm beginning I'm being treated like a second-class citizen, says Moore, his eyes darting dully into the space. They want to destroy my livelihood. How can they be? Can that be right? The man from New Coal Resources came last winter and explained their plans. 5 valuable coal seams are located under my property, and they want to extract 4 of them. They want to dig underground galleries directly beneath the farmhouse and through the neighbor who has already sold his fields to the mining people. Moore balks at this against test drilling, against selling up. He's afraid that this land too will suffer meter-deep subsidence and his house will collapse. But above all, he is afraid that his precious groundwater will run dry. Without water, my land would be worth $2, he says. Over in the town where one of Ian Moore's sons works as a boiler maker in the mining industry, the coal dust settles. So Ian Moore's son works in the mining industry, by the way. The coal dust settles everywhere and makes the children cough chronically. Entry-level wages in the mining industry at $120,000 per year. That's a lot. For many, the money quickly went to their heads, the farmer relates. Emotions have been further heated by the discovery by the Australian Institute, a left-oriented research group, that 83% of profits in the raw material sectors go into the pockets of overseas investors. Many speak openly of land grabbing. Land grabbing is something that is often land robbery with the support of politicians. It's often done in LEDCs, not in MEDCs, not as often. Because according to the law, private individuals only own the upper layer of the soil on their property. All the mineral resources beneath it belongs to the Australian people. That's the same as in Germany, not as in the United States. In the United States, everything below you belongs to you. Anyone who denies access to a mining company will with a valid mining license is breaking the law, but many take this risk nevertheless. Everywhere in the country they hang yellow warning triangles to their gates with the threatening slogan, "Lock the gate," and refuse all cooperation with the giant mining concerns. So, there is a lot of protests starting out against the destruction of the environment in Australia, as was here. Now we're just buying it from Australia, and now they are starting to protest. So give your opinion, and also the future scenarios. Well, that's up to you, I guess. And 5. A high proportion of the hard coal that is used in power stations in Germany comes from Australia. Explain. We've talked about this fairly much. We don't want to destroy our environment, so we pay other people to do it. We have much more expensive coal here in Germany because it's very deep underground, and we need to build difficult tunnels. There it's just at the ground, so you just have to excavate the top layer. Here there are big cities, so it does not make sense to destroy the entire city to get to the coal. In Australia there are just some farms with a couple of farmers and a lot of farmland, so not a lot of people to deal with, so to say. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you when I discuss the next tasks. Have a good day. Bye.